In this video, I'm going to show you how you can download Tomcat and configure Tomcat in NetBeans so that you can run your web applications within NetBeans. First, you want to go to tomcatapache.org. You're going to go to this website here. Next, you have to decide which version to download. I made the mistake of downloading version 10. Version 10, I wasn't able to run some of the sublets. So for this class, we're going to stick to version 9. So click Tomcat 9. Scroll down and you'll see binary distributions. Let's just look at the first two options. Okay, just ignore the rest. The zip version is for Windows, and the tar.gzip is for Mac and Linux. If you use a Mac or Linux and you use a zip, you download the zip file, you're gonna lose the file permission, and you will not be able to open. You're not able to execute Tomcat within NetBeans. So you're gonna pick tar.gz. Okay. For Windows, you pick zip. So let's download that. I already downloaded it on my computer, so I'm gonna show you. It's in my download folder and Apache Tomcat .tar gzip. I'm going to extract this file here. Okay. All right. So I have Apache Tomcat. This is the directory that has all the files that needed for Tomcat. I want to move this file to a different folder because my download folder will get a lot of things in there, and I want to be able to find Tomcat. So I want to create a folder in my home directory. You can put it on desktop, but I want to create a folder called Java in my home directory. So I'm going to cut this and go to my home directory and paste that in my Java directory. As you can see, I already have NetBeans in there too. All right. So that's it. That you download and you extract the files. That's pretty much it. You don't have to do much else. Now, just to test this, if you're on a Mac or Linux, you can do this. This is optional, but I'm just going to show you that you can run Tomcat from the command line and also stop Tomcat from the command line. Okay. So I'm going to the bin directory because I'm running Linux. I could run the terminal here. If you have a Mac, you'll find the terminal and then change directory to Tomcat bin, right? So here I could do it quickly. So you don't need to do this step. I'm just showing you that Tomcat can be executed from the command line. So start.sh is the script that will start Tomcat, and start.is shutdown sh is the script that shut down Tomcat. If you on a PC, then you run the batch file. Okay, so be start.bat and shut down bat. Right? So let's do that. Okay, so you can see Tomcat has started. Okay, so it's successful. If you have any errors, it's gonna spit out the errors right here. Now I'm going to the browser. I'm gonna test that Tomcat's working. You can test by going to your localhost 8080. Okay, enter. Now you can see Tomcat is running. Okay, so it's successfully installed. All right. Now I'm going to shut down Tomcat from the command line. Okay, so now if I refresh this page, you'll see that it won't be there anymore. Okay, so you can see I cannot connect anymore. Tomcat is no longer running. It's no longer listening to this location, this port. Okay, so Next, we want to be able to run our web applications in NetBeans with Tomcat. So let's open up NetBeans. All right. Now we need to configure NetBeans to use Tomcat. Okay. So let's go to service. Okay. If you don't see services, you go to Windows and then go to services. Okay. And here under server, um, if you haven't configured Tomcat, then when you expand it, there'll be nothing there. So we want to add Tomcat as one of the server. Add server. We want to select Tomcat. And okay, so it's activating Java Web. All right. Now we need to find the location of Tomcat. I put my Tomcat in the Java directory. So you can just select the folder and click open. And I'm just going to give the username admin and password admin and create user if it does not exist. All right, now if you expand servers, you can see there's Tomcat. Okay, right now Tomcat's not running. We can actually start Tomcat from NetBeans. So you can right click on Tomcat and click start. Okay, now we just repass the password and username admin. All right, so you can see Tomcat runs successfully. If you expand the web applications folder, this all the applications that Tomcat right now is serving. There's the documents app. There's examples. It's basically this project contain a bunch of JSP and servlet examples and so on. Okay. So since we have started Tomcat, let's check out Tomcat. Okay. Again, because we started Tomcat in NetBeans, you should be able to hit enter. You can see that's running. Also, we know that there's a example project, example application that's running Tomcat. We can so you need to specify the name of the application that you want to access. So this case is examples. So let's click on examples. Right, examples just contain some Tomcat examples. So servlet examples, hello world, okay, or JSP examples. All right. If you want, you can shut down Tomcat from here. Stop. Okay. And if you go back and you refresh the page, you can see we don't have access to this web applications anymore. It's no longer there. It's good. It's not there anymore, right? Next, so now you know how to stop Tomcat within NetBeans. You don't really have to start or stop NetBeans. You can, when you run your project, NetBeans automatically will start Tomcat if it's not already started. And when you when you exit NetBeans, you automatically shut down Tomcat. Okay. So many of you ask me how do you actually run a web project? So let's first create a web project and go to end Java web, web application, and let's just say JSP demo. Next. If you already configured Tomcat, then you'll have this option to pick from. You can have multiple versions of Tomcat as long as you give it different names. Right? So you can have, maybe Tomcat 9, Tomcat 8, and so on. And we should pick Java EE7. Right? So you don't need to select anything. So you click finish. All right. So right now, so we have our project called JSP demo. This is the name of our project, also the name of our web application. Right now, I have a single static page, which is the index HTML. Let me resize the screen so it's bigger. Okay, it just display this content to do right content. That's it. Let us change something. Say, okay. And now let's run our project. In fact, you could just click run file from here, right? Or you can just click run the project right here. And it will automatically load the browser for you, and will take you to the location of your application that's served on Tomcat. So right now, um, we don't need to specify index.html. By default, when you request for the URL, like this one, you automatically will use index.html. Okay. Now let's say you want to add some JSP page. What we could do is we could actually delete this file, and instead of index.html, maybe we want to create a JSP page instead. We could create new, and we can say JSP. And if we can use index.jsp. Okay. And now we could insert some JavaScript. We can insert some Java code. Oh, it's auto completion. I did not type that. Okay. Let's just write something out. 4 plus 5. I'm just going to say 4 plus 5 is equal to 4 plus 5. Okay. This is Java code. So out is, we use out to display HTML. Okay. So it's going to display 4 plus 5 equal to 4 plus 5, which is 9. This will evaluate to 9. And then this could be concat as a string. So let's run. All right, you can see that. All right, so that's JSP working right there. And when you make changes, you don't have to, you can just save the changes and then refresh your page. So let's just do another one. Okay, and then we just save this file, Control S, and then we can just reload, right? So we don't have to click run again. Every time any changes we make, Tomcat automatically redeploy the project onto Tomcat. Maybe not automatically deploy it. So again, notice that I did not have to say index.jsp because any file that's indexed assume it be the file to be loaded. Okay, so or you can also just specify the name of the file. Okay, let's add another JSP page because in your project you may have multiple JSP page. And let's test that. Okay, so this is going to be, let's just call this greeting JSP. And this is going to be a form. Let me change the fonts here. The fonts is just too hard to read. Let's hope this works better. Okay, let's change the, okay. So let's practice using form, right? action is where we want to submit the form data. So let's say, um, you know what, let me enter this, let me rename this to form, okay? And then I'm going to create another file called greeting, which is we will, which will display the name of the person and say a greeting. So you can specify the action to go to a different JSP page. In this case, it's going to be greeting JSP. Okay, and there are multiple methods you can do. We can do by default. If you don't specify the method, it's get. Okay, otherwise this would be post. The difference between get and post is that get, the data is passed in the URL. So for example, it will be something like this. Um, so maybe like this, like that. Okay, so the parameters of the form, the fields are passed in the URL. If you use post, this data will not show here, and instead it will be submitted through the request, the body of the request. So you won't see that in the URL. We'll talk about which method to use later on. So let's do post. Let's just do get first, and then we can change the post. You can see the difference. Okay. Now let's do input type, text name. You need to give a name. The name is we use the name to retrieve the value later in JSP. So let's just say user name or something. Okay. Okay. Next, we're going to create a submit button. And we're going to give a name. Name is also submit. You're going to give it some value, okay? Because we want to be able to check whether the submit buttons be clicked simply by checking whether the submit has a value. So let's give it a value. You can give any value you want. I'm just going to give the same value as a name. Okay, so let's save this. Now to access the form JSP page, you would go to your application, and you would specify the name of the JSP page. In this case, it's just form JSP. All right, so right now we don't have a page to handle this data. So when I click submit, you can see this is what I'm talking about. When you do a get, the information get passed using the URL. So information is encoded in the URL. Okay. Now if it now because we don't have a page JSP page to handle this, it's 404, meaning that it doesn't have the file that we are submitting the data to, or the file that we're requesting. So now let's create a file, greeting, and in this file we're going to retrieve the data from the form and simply say hello to that person. Okay. So we want to see if you know it was coming from a form, right? If the data is coming from a form, then the submit button must have some value. So let's do a check. The auto completion is annoying. Yeah. Okay, so let's do okay, so let's check if let me just do this. Okay, so I'm gonna do all the fields in the form or HTML. So I'm gonna say submit value is equal to. Now, how do we get the information from the request? Okay, so when the user click on the form or click a link or whatever, it's making request to our page. Uh, and in the request, there's information. For example, a form, there's information in the form. we need to use request to get that information. So we automatically get this object, request object. You don't we don't have to do anything. We just get it. Okay. And now we want to get the parameter. Um, Now we're gonna say username. No, not actually submit. Okay. So we want to get the value for the submit button. In this case, is this submit button. You look at the source, you can see the value submit. So if you have a value for submit, that means that the data must come from a form. Okay. So and then next we're gonna get the name, and we'll rename that username, right? So we're just gonna type username. All right. So then we can check if the submit value is actually something. So meaning it's not null. Then we can say greeting. Right. So we're gonna do a greeting. We're going to print. We're gonna do a huge uh, text, which is a header one, H1. Say hello. Okay. And then the name of the person plus now is the name. So name value. Right. Okay. So otherwise you'll say we're just not going to say anything. We're just going to keep quiet. Okay. So if they didn't come from a form, we're just going to keep quiet. So let's test our application again. Um, you can also run it from here. You can right click and run. Oh, it doesn't work that way. Okay. So we want to go to greeting.jsp. So because we're going directly to greeting.jsp, we are not coming from a form. So that means that the submit button doesn't have any value. Okay. So you can see it's just empty, right? Now, let us go to the form. Now, let's just type my name and let's submit, right? So now you can see um, that I have a name there. Now, let me remove all the uh, information here and then just enter again. You can see that I don't have a submit information. So next, I'm going to show you, let's just change it to post so you can see the difference. Okay. All right, let's go here. Now let's do a post. And let's click submit. You can see, let me see. Why does it submit there? Did I save this file? It should not show that here. Okay. Let's go back to form, JSP. Let's reload this page because I think before I didn't reload it. George Michael. Notice that I don't have the information in the URL anymore because all the fields in the form are passed in the body of the request. Okay, so that's why you don't have that. All right, so that's how you execute your app by running here. First time you run, after that you make changes and you simply reload your pages. And if you want to go to a specific page, just specify the page here. For example, greeting, JSP, or the index page. For index, you don't need to specify the file. You can just hit that. Okay. All right. So next, how about we just submit the form to itself, right? Here we submit the data goes from the form to the greeting JSP. So data is coming from one file to another file. We could have the data go to the same file, right? So create a new file. let's do the this example. I'm going to add two numbers, so it's a little more complicated than the greeting one. Okay, so just say add. Okay, it's going to add two numbers. So let's change that here. I'm just going to do input um, type equal text, and then value just be, you can name it just first number, and then we do a plus. Right. Oh, maybe it's trying to be smart. That's not what I was asking for. Now, as the second input, I'm just gonna name this second. Oh, I need to give it a name actually, not value. I say name. And I'm gonna say equal to, and all right, so equal to, um, let's just do that for now, okay? So let's save this, and let's run that. Now it's just gonna be add JSP. Let's see. I think we might have to deploy because we add something new. Let's see. I think I've had some. Do I have some error in my code? What's the error message then? Let me pause this video and let me fix this first. All right, so I delete the add JSP and add a new file again called add JSP. I'm not sure what's wrong with the file, but I've did that, and um, it was it's working again. So let's say add two numbers. Okay, so let's refresh that. Let's add two numbers. Now we're gonna have the method. This time the action's just gonna submit. The action's just gonna be add JSP because we're gonna submit the data to the JSP, the same JSP page. And let's do the method post. And let's do input. Okay, so type will be text. Name will be first. Okay, and plus. And the input type text. Name is second. Equal to question mark. Let's see. Right, so we have this. So let's change the width to, let's change the size to 4. You don't want the size is the number of characters that for the field. So we're gonna make it smaller. Okay. All right. So when you now let's have the submit button. We can name this add. Okay. So we could call this. Let's just call submit, and the value be add. So the value is what is displayed in the button. So you can see it's add. Okay. So we can, let's say we wanna put this line below that. You could add a div or a line break, or you just put it in a div or a paragraph, something like that. Okay. So we have the form right now. Doesn't do anything. If you submit, it will just go back to the page, but it's not doing anything, right? So you can see it goes to this page, but it doesn't do anything. Okay. So let's actually add the logic to add the numbers, okay, and then displays the values that we pass through and also the answer. So let's do that here. Let's put the logic in the very top. I can put the logic up here. It doesn't have to be below here. We could just put it here. It doesn't matter. It could be at the top, even the top here. Okay. So, but I wanna put it right here, so it's close enough to the. Okay. So. All right. So we want to see if the form has been submitted, or if the data is coming from the form. So we're going to say if. Let's just read all the values. Okay. So submit value is equal to request get parameter. This time because we name our, oh, we still name it submit, so just use submit. And now let's get first value. Remember that all the forms are strings. You need to cast into integers or double or float if the first string second value. All right. Okay. So we read in all the values. Now let's do this. Okay. So we submit the form, and then here we read the information from the form. We could write the information from the form back to the form, right? So right now, let's test this form. I enter the number 5, the number 4, I click add. Now you can see they're empty, right? There's 4 and 5 are missing. The reason is that to do that, I'm just get a new form, right? And there's no value for the first input, no value for second input. How about I use the value from these guys here, okay? So maybe I can say the value is equal to first val, and the value is equal to, not like that actually. We want to use JSP. Let's call it JSP expression, and it's this. This is the same as this with the out print. Okay, so instead of having to do the print, we can just use the this tag with equal. You automatically print whatever is here. So it's a short way of printing something out. Okay, now let's save this, and let's say okay. Now let's add. You can see we have 5 and 4, right? 5 and 4 are the values from first val and second val. They get placed here. Yeah. Well, if there's nothing here, let's see. Okay, let's do this again. Now you can see because the form didn't have any data, these two guys, first and second, are null, right? So we could, if we could do something like this, if it's null, we make it empty. So you could do something like this. First value is, if first value is null, then it's empty string, otherwise it's itself. Okay. And second val equal to second val equal to null. If it's null, we're gonna leave empty string, otherwise it's gonna be the second val. Okay, so now you can see we didn't use a form. You can see we no longer have the null value. Okay, now let's say 5 plus 5, 4, it's 4. Okay, all right, so we got the values. Now let's actually check that it's coming from the form and actually perform the addition. If submit value is not null, it's coming from the form, then we need to convert the first number. So we're gonna do a big, we're gonna convert the first number. Int first is equal to integer plus int first val, int second equal to integer plus int second val, and the result is first plus second. Okay, and now we want to print the result. Actually, hold on. We want to, because here the result is local, so it's not going to be visible in here. It's not going to be visible down here in the. It's not going to be visible here. So what we want to do is we can have int. Let me see. I'm going to use a string. So string result val is equal to empty string. Okay. And now I'm going to basically make the string equal to the result. So I'm going to say result val equal to string value of result. So it's going to convert the result into a string, or you can just concat result with the empty string, and it will make into will convert the number to a string. So now we can print the result. Yeah. Actually, we want to instead of instead of that we could do a question mark. Okay, because if there's no answer or something, then it's question mark. Okay, let's test. Okay, you can see the question mark. Now let's say 5, 4, it's 9. Okay, 51 plus 44, it's 95. What if you enter something that's not a number, right? So now it crashes our program. We can put try catch around this. Okay. So maybe with this, if we get into an error, maybe you want to say result value equal to error. Okay. And we can maybe have a message, right? So let's just say we have a message down below the form. H1. Let's print the message. Error message. All right. So let's declare our error message. So error message right now is just going to be empty string. Because we don't have any message. And now we're going to update the error message because the exception happened. Okay. All right, so if there's an error, when we parse the input, when we convert them to integer, and there's encounter error, we can display the result as error, and then we're also going to display the error message. The field must be numbers. Okay. All right, so let's right, the field must be number. So now let's actually change this to 10, and error is gone. Now let's put this is empty. Now we have an error. Okay, 20. here also. And now it's happy, right? So this is an example of just forwarding the information from the form back to the same JSP page. All you have to do is you just have to have basically wrap around the submit. Make sure that it's coming from a submit, right, before you do the calculation. If somehow somebody get to this page directly without coming from the form, then they should not have a submit value, and this will be null. And basically, you would skip the calculation. All right. So, for example, I just come here from the directly. I did not come from the using the form. I did not click the submit button. I just go there directly. Then you can see there's nothing. That nothing is done because this check makes sure that we actually have data to work with. Okay. Now I'm going to add some numbers, 50, and I click add, right? What happens is that submit now has a value, and so it's going to parse the first two numbers, add them together, and put them in the result. Okay. All right, so that's a lot more than I actually was showing, because initially I was just showing you how to download Tomcat, configure Tomcat in NetBeans, and then I ended up showing you how to run your application and how you can access the individual JSP page. Also, how you submit data from a form to a JSP, how your JSP code can process a form, and also show you how uh, you can submit the data to the same page, and basically you use the condition uh, on the submit value to check whether the data is coming from a form or not. Okay, I think that's it for this video.